Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking your finances and transforming them from, well, total chaos into a liberating, completely stress-free structure. If managing money feels like a constant uphill battle for you, you're going to absolutely love what we've got today. We're breaking down a brilliantly straightforward system based on a really fascinating real-world 30-day experiment. Get ready to rethink everything you know about saving and spending.
Have you ever tried budgeting only to give up like 3 days later? It's so relatable, right? I mean, this is exactly where Jack started. Let's be honest. Your paycheck arrives, you open up your banking app, look at the number, and for a split second, everything feels completely fine. But then, the spending starts. Rent, groceries, a couple of random subscriptions, maybe you grab takeout a few times because you're tired, and before you know it, poof, the money is basically gone. It's just a really frustrating cycle of good intentions meeting cold, hard reality.
Okay, let's dive into this comparison. Traditional budgeting tells you to track every single dollar, aggressively cut your spending, and log, 40 different categories? You have to categorize every single coffee and rely on constant guesswork. Jack tried this and found it absolutely exhausting. And honestly, most people just don't have the patience for it. But the 50-30-20 rule? It replaces all that chaos with 3 simple buckets. Complete, simple clarity. No complicated spreadsheets, just a beautifully straightforward way to manage exactly what comes in and what goes out.
Moving to Section 1, the 50-30-20 framework. It's all about simple organization.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the rule operates. Imagine your entire income divided into just 3 easy slices. 50% goes to your needs, 30% goes to your wants, and 20% is totally dedicated to saving and investing. And honestly, that's it. Your whole financial life sorted into 3 distinct buckets, instantly giving you a bird's-eye view of your money without all the usual overwhelm. Let's break down each slice, starting with the biggest one, needs. This 50% bucket is for the absolute essentials required to live. We're talking about things like your rent or mortgage, your utilities, groceries, transportation, and insurance. Basically, your foundational, non-negotiable living expenses. During his 30-day experiment, Jack realized that his needs actually weren't the problem. They were pretty predictable and steady. Look, if you don't pay these, your life literally stops functioning smoothly, so they get the biggest chunk.
Next up, your wants. These are the discretionary items that make life, enjoyable, even if they aren't strictly essential for survival. Things like going to restaurants, entertainment, shopping, travel. Having a dedicated 30% bucket here is incredibly important because it acknowledges that enjoyable spending is a completely healthy part of life. You're not cutting out joy here, you're just giving it a specific, safe boundary.
Let's ground this theory in some real, practical math to show the relief this system actually provides. Imagine you earn $4,000 per month after taxes. Applying our rule, your budget falls perfectly into place. $2,000 for your needs, $1,200 for your wants, and $800 goes straight to saving and investing. It is incredibly clear. Jack found immense psychological relief right here, because once the math was set on day 1, there was 0 guesswork left for the rest of the month.
Which brings us to Section 2, the wants trap, where money really goes. Most people naturally assume that their biggest financial problems are the giant expenses, like huge rent checks or massive grocery runs. But research from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that discretionary spending, dining out, random subscriptions, entertainment, actually quietly eats up a massive portion of our income. Jack's experiment perfectly mirrored this BLS data. It's almost always the small, hidden expenses that are the real culprits behind our financial stress.
So, the crucial point is this whole concept of the leaky bucket. A $15 lunch here, a $20 subscription you totally forgot about over there, a $30 dinner delivery on a really tired weeknight. Individually, these expenses feel so minor, right? They just happen automatically throughout the week, and our brains barely even register them as actual threats to our overall wealth.
But the result? Hundreds of dollars just leaking away. That is the visual shock of these tiny expenses. When you let that happen several times a week, suddenly you're spending hundreds of dollars without even noticing. And this is exactly why so many people get to the very end of the month and wonder where on earth all their hard-earned money disappeared to.
Moving right along to Section 3, the power of 20%. Get ready for some life-changing math.
Now that we actually know how to stop the leaks in our wants bucket, let's zoom out to the macro view and look at the long-term math behind that crucial savings and investing bucket. Going back to our $4,000 a month example, after just 1 month, saving 20% means you put away $800. Okay, not bad. But after 1 year, that equals $9,600 saved. Now, imagine you take that money and invest it consistently, getting an average return of 8% per year over 20 years. It grows to roughly $450,000. Just let that massive number sink in for a second. Wow. And remember, you didn't get that 450 grand from winning the lottery or picking some incredibly lucky stock. You got it simply from consistent, automated saving and investing. Everyday people don't fail financially because they make bad investments. They fail because they literally never create the space in their budget to invest in the first place.
Which leads perfectly into Section 4, why the structure works. Let's look at the psychological insight here.
Now, you might be thinking, what if I live in a really expensive city and my rent takes up way more than 50%? Look, that is completely fine. You can adjust the ratio to something like 60-20-20. The primary goal is balance, not perfection. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the totally relatable closet analogy to explain how this balance affects your brain. Think of it this way. Most people treat their money like a notoriously messy closet. Everything just gets thrown inside randomly, representing total financial chaos, which makes it impossible to find anything. But the 50-30-20 rule? It gives you 3 simple shelves. Suddenly, everything has a designated place, and the chaos becomes incredibly easy to manage, just like Jack experienced when he first organized his accounts.
The real power of this system isn't the percentages, it's the clarity. I love that quote. Once you know you have a fixed, decided amount for wants, your brain naturally starts prioritizing. You actually start asking yourself if you want a coffee right now more than you want a nice dinner later this week. That foundational clarity improves your behavior automatically, so you don't have to rely on constant, exhausting discipline. The structure literally does the heavy lifting for you.
And the ultimate result of all this? It drastically reduces your stress. You see, when you try to budget by just restricting everything, you constantly feel guilty every single time you spend a dime. But with this rule, knowing your wants are already fully funded means you can finally spend without feeling guilty. This was actually the biggest revelation of Jack's 30-day experiment. If a purchase comes from the wants category, well, it was already planned for. It entirely replaces guilt with intentional, pre-planned spending. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, your 30-day starting plan.
You know, the biggest financial mistake people make isn't actually overspending, it's operating without any clear structure. So here is your simple 3-step challenge for the next 30 days. Step 1, calculate your monthly after-tax income. Step 2, divide it into the 3 categories of 50%, 30%, and 20%. And step 3, track your spending against these categories. It's that easy. Once you give your money this straightforward structure, you are going to stop wondering where it went and start deciding exactly where it should go. So let me ask you, do you currently follow a budgeting system or do you mostly just spend and hope it works out? Seriously, think about your own habits right now. Sometimes, dramatically improving your finances doesn't require some massive, complicated strategy. It just requires one simple rule, applied consistently. Take this knowledge, apply the framework for the next 30 days, and just watch how it transforms your future.